What's going on, guys? So if you didn't read the title of this video, as you can see, I've got this awesome Gigabyte box in front of me, and what I'm going to be doing today is upgrading the Ghetto Gaming PC with a Gigabyte R9 290. This is the Triple Windforce edition. I didn't even know it was the Triple Windforce edition until after I bought it, actually. I thought it was just going to be the reference cooler, like what I have at the moment on that dead R9, which I'm still going to be fixing. I had a few people ask me if I'm still fixing it, and yeah, that's still going ahead. It's just sort of on the back burner at the moment. So if you're unaware of what the current systems are running, you can look back at the other videos. But basically, it's an i7 860 with a GTX 670, so fairly old hardware, but I don't know, I like it. I just stumbled across this card on eBay. As I was saying, I thought it was only the reference cooler, because you'll see why in a minute. It doesn't actually have any photos of this actual card, the complete card altogether. It's been sold as working, that's the part number, and yeah, I thought it was just a reference because this actually comes with a water block attached. It comes with a... Actually, I'll just show you if I can get the box open. Doing this one-handed warrior, and aha, some paper. So yeah, it was a complete kit. Came with those little adapters, which I probably won't need. And there you go. Yeah, so it's running the EK290X water block. There is the part number, and I'm going to be ripping this off today because I don't have a custom loop to connect it to. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be pulling this off and putting the stock cooler back on for now, and this thing's really heavy, and as you can see over here is the stock cooler, because I originally thought it was going to be the reference card. I was worrying about how I was going to cool it. If you aren't familiar with the R9, it's a very hot card. It runs really hot, so I was worried that my current cooler on my 670 wasn't going to be big enough, but yep, as we can see, we have this one here, and the 670 is just finished doing a benchmark. I'm just going to see if there's any performance upgrade going between the two. It got a score of 1902 on value benchmark, FPS 45.5 on Ultra HD settings. So yeah, it's alright. Well, actually I think it's just Ultra. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by pulling off this water block, clean it up with some alcohol, and get to putting this on. Hopefully I have all the screws. We'll find out. Be back in a bit. Okie dokie then. So I've got the water block off, and now it's all left to do is just get some isopropyl, clean up this dye as much as I can, and then put it back on. I think I've put all the thermal pads back in, and for some weird reason this person's put thermal paste on the thermal pads, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, so let's get this all slapped back together, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so a bit of a jump here. It is the next day, and I've put the cooler back on the card and installed it. Now, one problem that I had with this was the seller didn't include the screws for the original heatsink. The only screws that were here were the bigger ones, which fit the water block, and the screws used in the stock cooler is a lot smaller. So what I had to do was I had to first up steal the screws, the 4 mounting screws off the 670, and they're really long ones, and luckily I had the leftover parts from this twin turbo kit, and that includes some little plastic sort of extension riser things, little nylon ones, so I used those to make the screws a little bit shorter. So now it sits fairly flush. There is a bit of a bend in the card, but that's not really going to hurt anything. One thing that I did have an issue with, and you probably can't see it, is just one of the RAM thermal pads on one of the RAM is just like it looks like it's just a fraction off touching the metal plate to cool it. Now I don't think that'll cause heaps of issues just because it looks like it's touching on just one side. It should be fine. This cooler actually had a big bend in it up here on the, yeah, you probably can't see it, but over there, the little bend piece that goes around the DVI ports, it was pushed in, and I wasn't able to actually screw the card on, and then I realized it was bent, so I just pushed it all the way back out, and it was also missing that screw there. Luckily it's the same thread as what was on the water block, so I just pitched one of them. And yeah, so if you've never seen this computer before, it's pretty ghetto. So we've got a 600 watt power supply, which is the bare minimum to run one of these cards. I've got this Cooler Master 120 Plus or whatever it is, just a random liquid cooler. I had to get it because I didn't actually have a cooler when I bought this board. So yeah, there it is in there, lights up blue, kind of boring. This is the eBay motherboard that I got, along with that CPU I got on eBay as well. Yeah, it's alright, I guess. If you saw the other episodes of this sort of build log, then you'll realize that you'll remember that the first board was actually faulty. It had a broken RAM slot, and I didn't feel like replacing it, so I just sent it back, and they sent me this one. Apparently this one was being used as a server, so I think it's holding up okay. It's got a shit ton of just crappy electrolytic capacitors. None of them are blown yet, which is good. I don't think they will. The system doesn't run that hot. I'll show you actually. On the side panel here, and excuse all the mess, I've got these two fans, just ghetto mounted on there. The bottom one for the graphics card obviously, and the top one is to blow onto the VRMs and everything over here, keep them nice and cool. I think it works. Also for the RAM, I do actually have some really small fans that I pulled out of a PS3 intercooler. Those things don't do anything, and I'm going to probably mount them on top of the RAM. Yeah, so that's alright. Big mess of wires. Because I change the system all the time, I haven't gotten to the point where I can modify this power supply and get rid of the leftover cables. Like, I've got shit tons of those 4-pin Molex cables and a bunch more of the SATA Molex cables and stuff. Here's my awesome fan adapter. They're all 5 volt. All the auxiliary fans are 5 volts just because they're a bit noisy when they're running as fast as they can. And I got a fan controller for the top one that sits here. And yeah, and here on the front, that's the liquid cooler. And you come around the side, and I've got this piece of filter, which is actually, I got it from Aldi. It goes into the bottom of your refrigerator. It's to put food on, so it doesn't get slimy if there's water in your fridge. If you don't have a fan forced fridge, frost-free fridge, and that's really dirty. I'm gonna have to clean that now. I don't know how. I don't want to pull that fan off because it's a huge pain in the ass. As you can see, it's zip tied in there, just sitting on a piece of foam on the bottom, and another one there. It's fairly quiet too, it moves a lot of air. I don't know where it got all that dust from, because it did have this in front, and this thing was caked in dust too, so it's probably pulling it through the sides or something, or just not all of it's getting caught by that filter. So I'm going to clean that, probably close this all up now. I need to fix my little chain, it's not quite long enough. A zip tie chain there just to hold the back of the card up, so one more link in that. Blow all the dust out and we should be fine. I've already benchmarked this card. It's a lot better than the 670 obviously, and yeah, it runs kind of warm. That's kind of expected because this GPU, the 290, normally runs fairly hot, and it's running in normal mode because this isn't the X. I might flash this to an X, so then I've got a bit of overclock and a few more cores or whatever unlocked, but I don't know if that's going to make much difference. Anyway, so yeah, that's about it for this sort of small build log. Keep up to date with it, I try to anyway. Yeah, if you haven't seen the other videos of this, take a look there. Got an SSD and everything. It's the cheapest system I could sort of build that's actually any good. So yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then I don't know why you're watching it still, but yeah. Anyway, until next time, see ya. Okay, so I thought I'd just throw this in at the end of the video. I've just changed some things around that I'm going to do. So I've dusted out the case and everything, and I've moved the bigger fan that I was using to cool these VRMs and everything with. Let me just move the light. Cool those VRMs and everything with. I've decided to move it down here and have that on a manual control using a little PWM controller, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So it's going to be sucking air out the back like so, and I've just done it with a zip tie. We're going to probably put 2 or 3 zip ties in there, probably just 2, and that should hopefully try and get a bit more air flowing through here, because at the moment I've got that one fan down here that's running fairly slow to push some air into the card. Originally I was going to be using a blower style R9290, the one over there that's I bought ages ago that I'm still fixing. I just haven't had much time to do it. I was originally going to use that one, have blower style, and just have a pipe that comes from here up to the blower there, just for something different. I've still left some room in the bottom here. There's a project that I'm going to be doing eventually, and that's going to be to sound deaden this case using funky foam, which will be fun. And yeah, so let's get to it and pop this in. Another change of plan. It turns out that this little fan controller isn't PWM. It's actually looks like current regulation. It could be voltage regulation. It's probably just the current regulator there. I don't know. Or it's still PWM, but it's chopping the it's not actually using the PWM signal from the fan like to control the fan. It's probably just like chopping the negative rail or something to get the fan to spin slower. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that I can now just run this back fan straight off, actually no, this bottom fan straight off 5 volts. And yeah, I'm not sure. Because I don't know if it'd be better to have that to be able to go faster. I don't know. Yeah, I might actually keep that one. I'll put that one back on the fan control there. Yeah. This is quite confusing actually. Okie dokie, so I've gone ahead and mounted the little fan controller through here. This does get quite warm, and I didn't want it sitting in here near that plastic crap, the little filter thing, so it runs all the way down in there, through that little hole there, and then scooching across, and then it goes into that fan header, and then the one to the fan. So now I can control that speed for that bottom fan there. So say if the computer's getting a bit warm, say I'm rendering something, I can go ahead and just crank that all the way up, and it should just pull all the hot air that's sort of... I'm assuming there's going to be some hot air pooling just here, because up here we've got that exhaust from the power supply and that exhaust there, as well as there's a hole there on the side, and there's a fan. Don't forget there's a fan down here as well pushing in. So it should keep it fairly cool, because remember that the CPU cooler vents directly into the back of the case here. Now some people probably have a bitch and say that, oh, that's not good enough, blah blah blah. I don't give a fuck. So yeah, I haven't
actually had any problems running the 670 in here, so the 290 should be okay. It's got a much bigger cooler, more fans, and I'm just fixing the exhaust, so hopefully it should be okay. So this is what the system looks like now. It's all been put back together. Just snip that off. Yeah, so I ended up strapping the little support thingy just here. So that's holding the card nice and straight, and got the card set to, well, it doesn't really matter, this is not the X version, so once I flash it, I'll be able to do something with that little switch. But yeah, it looks alright. And I got this cooler down here. It's running, as I said before, off the fan controller there. This one here is just running off 5 volts. So yeah, hopefully it should run fairly cool. Shouldn't have any issues. The other reason why I moved this fan from here to there was because it's so thick. It was pushing on this, and this isn't the best liquid cooler. I think it's Corsair or something, I don't know. Their hoses are just rubber hoses, like heater hoses in a car. So that would have been much better. These are like this weird rigid plastic crap. Looks like it's gonna break, I don't know. So one day I might end up doing a custom loop and then making use of that water block I've got. But for now, it should be fine. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, as before, give it a thumbs up. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Oh, and I'll put up some benchmark results at the end here. Alright, see ya.